Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm Deziel and today I'm continuing the bodice block construction. We're doing the last piece, that is the sleeve. So we'll do the basic sleeve block. Before to start the sleeve construction today, I want to talk about the new PDF I just did for you. It's very complete. You're going to find everything, where and how to take the measurement on the body. As usual, you're going to have the measurement that I'm using to trace my block. Here the measurement will be in centimeter and in inches, and of course you could also place your own measurement. For each one, you're going to have a drawing with some of the letters that are in the recipe, and you have all the step-by-step that I'm doing with you today. You'll see that at the end of each one, you're going to have information for how to trace the curve, how to place the notch, and for the bodice, it's how to move the shoulder dart, and for all of them, how to trace the jug. To do the sleeve block, you're going to need a piece of paper about 65 centimeter by 45 centimeter. Then pretty much in the middle of the paper, you're going to trace what's going to be the grain line, but also the length of the sleeve. For today's example, my sleeve length is going to be 58 centimeter. Now we have two new points, A that is going to be at the sleeve head and D is going to be at the wrist. The next step is going to be to find or positionate the elbow level, and for that you're going to take your first measurement, so the length of the sleeve, divided by 2 and go 4 centimeter towards the bottom. For today's example, my 58 divided by 2, it's 29, plus 4 centimeter towards the bottom, it's going to be 33 centimeter. For the next step, we're going to need the armhole height. And for that, you had to go back on your bodice plan and connect both of the end of the shoulder, back and front. Now we're going to find the middle of that line. Then you're going to measure from that point all the way down to the bust line. For my example, I found 19.5 centimeter. Then from A, you're going to place your measurement minus 3.5 centimeter. And this point is going to be called B. For the next step, you're going to trace a square from the first line on both sides for each one of these points. The next step is going to be to place the width of the sleeve at the bicep line, and to find the measurement you have to do a little calculation. You're going to need 3/8 of the bust measurement minus 1 centimeter, and since we want to place half and half on each side, you're going to divide it by 2. For today's example, my little calculation gives me a measurement of 17.31 centimeter, so I'm going to place it on both sides of the B point. We now have two new points, B1 on the left and B2 on the right. Now I move all the way down to the bottom line, and I'm going to place on each side of point D 1/2 of the measurement of the wrist. For today's example, it's going to be 11 centimeter on each side. So we have two new points. We have D1 and D2 on the right. The next step is going to be to place the width of the armhole, and those reference points will help us doing the sleeve head. To find the measurement, you also have to do a little calculation. You have to take the 1/8 of the bust measurement plus 5 millimeter and divide it by 2, because again we want to place the same measurement on both sides of the grain line. Now I'm showing you again the bodice block, because you know the sleeve is going to the armhole, and if you remember, the width of the armhole from B2 to B4 was also 1/8 of the bust measurement. Now for today's example, my little calculation gives me 6.18 centimeter, but when I do place it from point B on each side, I'm going to add to that measurement 2.5 centimeter. We have now two new points, B1 prime and on the right B2 prime. From these two new points, I'm going to trace a square line towards the top. These two new lines gives us two new points. We have A1 and A2. Now the following point that we will find, they're going to be to help us to trace the curve of the sleeve head. So first we're going to divide A to A1 in two, then A to A2 in two also. We now have A1 prime and A2 prime. We continue at the sleeve head. We're now going to divide by 2 again, from A to A1 prime and from A to A2 prime. We now have two new points, A1 prime prime and A2 prime prime. We're still placing reference point to be able to trace a nice sleeve head. We're now going to divide A2 to B2 prime by 2. In the front, we'll divide A1 to B1 prime by 2. We now have point E and point F. Now at this point we have to determine which side is going to be the front and which side is going to be the back, because until now everything we did is symmetrical. For this one I decide that my back is going to be on this side and my front on the other side. Now on the back side you're going to go 1 centimeter up from point E, and this is going to be your point E1. Now we're going to start connecting some points. You're going to trace from A1 prime, passing by E1, and you're going to elongate your line until the bicep line. Now on the front side, you're going to trace from A2 prime to F. Now we continue on the front side. I want you to take the measurement A2 prime and put it on the new segment you just did from A2 prime. Now we go on the back side, and I want you to measure from A to A1 prime prime, this little section, and you're going to place it from A1 prime going down towards the E1. Now we're going to trace a line from that new point to A1 prime prime. On the front side, we're going to connect the last point that we found until A2 prime prime. Finally, the two last construction lines. So we're going to do the underarm seam, tracing from B1 to D1, then from B2 to D2. Now for sure, we still have to do the curve for the sleeve head. And to do it, we're going to do a bit like we did for the bodice block. So I'm going to ask you to trace a little square from B2 prime and another little square from B1 prime. Now we're going to connect both opposite sides of the little square. Now we're going to put a measurement for the curve. In the front, from the corner, or B2 prime, you're going to place about 4 centimeters. And in the back, you're going to place 4.5 centimeters. Now we have all the reference we need to control the sleeve head shape. But before to start, I want to insist on you to keep about 5 millimeters on each side of the grain line that will remain square. Then we'll do the same thing twice, curving up for the first part and then down, touching all the reference until B2. Same thing for the back, from the 5 millimeter curving up until E1 and then curving down until B1. Now to be able to place your notch on the sleeve, you have to go back on your bodice block and take the measurement from B3 all the way to the notch, write down the measurement, and you're also going to need the full armhole measurement, so all the way up to the shoulder point. And you do the same thing for the back. Now before to go place my notch on the sleeve, I want to talk about the armhole measurement. Usually there is no problem with the notch measurement. We just have to report them. But for the full armhole measurement, the difference between the back and the front is sometimes a little problem. For my example here, I have 9 millimeter difference. That is quite a bit, but I'm still going to use it on my sleeve block. You must know that if you do have a difference, the front must be the smallest measurement. And if you do have a difference over a centimeter, you must play with your curve a little bit before finishing your sleeve. So if, for example, I want to make my front armhole bigger, I would have to go deeper curve. But the opposite, if I want to make my back measurement a little smaller, I would have to go a little straighter in my curve. And if you do have a big difference, I suggest you distribute, so a little bit out for the back and a little bit deeper for the front. Now when we have the measurement for notch and full armhole, we're going to positionate the notch from B1 in the back and from B2 in the front. Here about the double notch, when I do measure on the bodice, I usually stop at the first notch from the bottom. So when I report it here, I report also my first notch, and the second one is placed a centimeter higher. Now I just want to mention that this construction for the sleeve is not the easiest that I know, but it is a construction for a basic block. It gives us a very nice sleeve head shape, and on top of that, that construction gives us more ease on the sleeve head. And for you to see how much ease you have on your sleeve head, I want you to put your full back armhole measurement from B1 and do the same thing on the front. Now I hope you could see my two long reference that I put for the end of my armhole measurement on both back and front. So you could see I have quite a bit of ease. If I measure, I have about 3.25 centimeter ease, and that's normal for that kind of sleeve. Now that we have those two references, we're going to be able to place the middle notch or the shoulder notch half distance from one mark to the other. Now with this little exercise that we just did, you're going to understand better why the shoulder notch is most of the time not on the grain line but a little bit towards the front. Now that the sleeve is complete, you could add your seam allowance and assemble it to your bodice block that you just did. That's it for today. I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching. Remember to share my video if you like the content. We will soon reach the 100,000 subscribers. So continue sharing, and I see you next time.